Hello, everyone, and
I'm going
welcome
first.
to this week's episode of Hotline League. It is officially the playoffs edition. I am so excited to be talking about this past weekend's matches because both were pretty interesting in very different ways. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, and it's none other than Cubby. Cubby, how's it going?
I'm good. Excited for the episode. We got some playoff games and some news for the week, so it should be fun.
Awesome. Well, I guess I should ask you, how was your past week? I know we haven't done this in a little bit, but
Not bad, honestly. I got
the way
back
you
from
said
a
"ooh"
wedding.
at the beginning made me wonder if I was opening some can of
Well,
worms.
no, that's because I just had a few days gap where I was actually kind of quiet, which was nice. I travel for this upcoming week. I get on a plane tomorrow, and then I get back from a wedding and 2 busy weeks of casting. I had my cast early in the week, so I actually kind of got to take a breather before the last sprint, before we wrap up playoffs and everything. So I got to enjoy the games. It was kind of nice.
Yeah. And none other than Raz is joining us in the Dignitas jersey. Is this a jersey from back when you were on Dig?
Yeah, it was. It has the whole razzle plasm on it too.
There we go.
The full plasm. Nothing in between. You got to celebrate the fact that they're in playoffs somehow.
And you say that like that. I was about to say, is this you meaning that you're going to be on this episode like promoting Dignitas and like hyping them up, and then you say they're in playoffs somehow, which makes me feel as though perhaps you are not as confident in them as I thought the jersey indicated. So
I am not as confident, but they are on an upward trajectory, so we take that.
yeah. Well, regardless, it's good to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about this past weekend. It's been some interesting games. I really did not think that each of these matches were going to go the way that they did, even though in some ways they ended up going the way that I thought they were going to go. So I'm kind of curious what you all thought of them as we talk about C9 versus TL and FlyQuest versus Shopify. I know we'll talk more about it over the course of the callers, but just as a quick recap, both 3-0s. We still have yet to have a fourth game in the LTA for any of our matches. So I don't know if we're ever going to see one of those or when we'll see it, but an interesting weekend for sure. The longest best of 3 we've ever had in LCS/LTA history.
True. For the C9TL one. Obviously, everybody was looking at the jungle to see how Yuji would perform. As personally, I didn't like the idea of Yuji coming in for like playoffs and fake playoffs, aka the cross group battle. I was like, you could just hold on to him for next split, but they wanted to try him, which is completely fine. But it wasn't like jungle did not decide this series at all. Core JJ played so badly throughout the entire series. Got caught off pretty frequently, looked for fights when it was not there. APA had this like weird TP play top lane on Ari. I forget which game this was. With impact on Galio to chase down a kill, and they both died. It was like, I think the most disturbing aspect was going Smolder, having him farm as well as he did,
And then just fight.
and then just perma fight.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Yeah.
It is weird because everything that's been happening to this team is jungle related, but all of the problems have just not been jungle related at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cubby.
I agree. I mean, for me, that was actually the most exciting match of the calendar year so far. Like C9 versus TL, just going in on paper, right? TL with UG actually looked good against SR. C9 had 2 weeks in a row where we kind of gave them I gave them a hall pass on here, but they looked a little bit weaker than the forum where they've been clear top 2 all year. And C9, yeah, they just absolutely clapped them. I was really looking forward to that series. It really was, and they made it look not close at all. And I feel like TL still, we've been talking about how kind of like Raz was hinting at, there's more problems than just Umpty, and that definitely was the case. That game 2 was really frustrating for me to watch. It just feels like TL are kind of stuck inside their own mental box they're fighting, and it's so weird for a team where the credit we always gave them is that was the kind of stuff where that's like we just assume they're going to be better or like at a decent level in terms of strategy and how they're going to play it out. And that just doesn't feel like it's the case right now, which is weird with the team that, I don't know, like when I think of them, I feel like sometimes they're a little bit too aggressive, but for the most part, like they have good ideas and good direction, right? And so to have games like that is just really weird.
Yeah. In particular, I feel like Game 3, Core and Impact were just really disappointing. It's funny because I feel like every week there's just a new, one or two players on TL that you could just be disappointed in. And for me, I feel like that Game 3 in particular made me feel pretty disappointed in those two. I don't know. It's not a good look, I think, for the world champions to be making such really strange decisions.
Yeah, it was which game was it? Was it game 2? It was game 1 where I'm just trying to find it in particular, the Recon game, yes. Where it was like pretty stable. And then they were getting a push topside, but Core JJ and Impact were on bot side, which is completely fine. But Core is just hitting a ward in the enemy red side jungle when they're on weak side, and he's just going to die. Like, I don't know what he was thinking. For him to think that he was going to survive, like just survive autoing a ward on their side of the map. And so they literally lose top side. They get killed bot side. Like the entire game is out of control because of that one mistake. And then there was the same thing that happened on, I think, game 3, his Leona, where he was looking for fights that they had no business in, and they were perma fighting in game 2. Literally all 3 games, they were just not focused. So it's weird. I don't know what was happening. And to be fair, in my opinion, Umpty is somebody that is, if obviously this is not an Umpty thing. This is not an Umpty thing. It's not a UG thing. But when you're thinking about who contributes heavily to comms and early game planning and generally, like, if you mess that system up, yeah, there's probably going to be some changes. This is just me speculating heavily on what changing your jungle comms and how it impacts your mid, like how that could actually fuck with you. But at the end of the day, it does not excuse people playing poorly individually. So
Yanya in the chat baiting me with I'm just getting baited by Twitch chat left and right, and Yanya is the worst offender. I should never get baited by Yanya, but I just feel like it's crazy because Yanya said, Travis, stop trying to take the blame for APA by putting it on others. It's just, for me in game 3 in particular, you see APA make that play outside of Baron in the first Baron fight that actually gave Team Liquid a chance to win the game, and then it just immediately gets, I think Core got caught out randomly or something like that afterwards, and it just starts to slide. And then the UG stuff, Yan is saying like UG should never be allowed to play again. First off, I don't know if you just ever throw a player into playoffs and then say, okay, well, you didn't perform up to expectations, that's it, this was your one chance ever to be able to play. But yeah, it is interesting. All right, we're going to be getting into more of that with everybody's calls in a little bit. I realized there was a couple things I wanted to talk about in the beginning. One, I should explain to everybody that this show is happening on Tuesday instead of Monday. So if you're listening to it on your podcast feed or YouTube later, it's because we had a holiday in the States, and I forgot to announce that last week that we were going to be doing
that's
this
my
on
Jamada
Tuesday.
impression, by the way. That's my Jamada impression.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tuesday.
I think that's
There we
accurate.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for a second, I thought he joined the call.
Yeah, see? You have some animal noise, and then you go, Tuesday, and then you're like, oh, it's Jamada.
Yeah. And then secondly, do you want to give a shout out to NZXT? We'll be talking about them more as this crazy helicopter flies over my apartment. I don't know if people could hear that. The show's off to a strange start here. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, by the way, was Raz and Cubby, I played my first ever Clash this past weekend.
Oh.
I had to
Did you win a game?
I had to play ranked placements in order to participate, because you have to play ranked first, or you have to be placed first in order for them to build the bracket. But I streamed that on the channel the other night. I did not win. We did not win either game, but it was really fun to do. And the most terrifying thing?
What?
The most terrifying thing is I have been playing ranked a little bit since then.
Oh.
And it's not like with a duo.
Are you duoing?
No,
okay.
It's just a solo. Wait, why are you saying, like, the solo I think is the more terrifying thing. Why would anybody decide to queue up for ranked by themselves? And I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm worried I'm like need to see a doctor or a therapist or something.
That is rough, yeah.
Yeah. I thought if you were gonna say duo that it would be like for somebody. for someone special, but no, you're just doing it to hate yourself.
Yeah. I guess that's true. You duo for love, or you solo for self-hate. I think those are the two. You're either doing it because you're with somebody or you're alone, and that's really how it goes.
Oh,
anyway, let's get into the rest of the show. Cubby, what other topics do we want to discuss tonight? We have playoffs. There was a coach of the split, right?
There was.
Oh yeah,
FlyQuest on winning that.
Who's second and third? If that's explained.
Sounds like Scary. Yeah, it sounds like Scary Jerry's been benched. And
Abadage.
Yeah. That change also reportedly being made. So if people want to call in about Disguised. And then, of course, had the rest of the playoff bracket to go through. So we have lower bracket games next week, and then return to the upper bracket the week after. So
do they not even create articles anymore for like the split awards?
Yeah, I just looked at it. I'm gonna have to ask
like
around.
that's crazy, man.
No,
you go to lollysports.com and there's no article or anything like that talking at all about the team that won coach of the split, which is
because usually if I'm correct, and I could not be correct in this case, usually All Pro will come out pretty quick, and then the other awards come out. I have no idea.
No, I think they usually go coach, and then they do All Pro, and then I think they do rookie. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is All Pro first.
Because All Pro is a little delayed in comparison to what it is in the past. So
yeah,
maybe that's when everything gets explained. Possible. I'll ask though.
Yeah, they just tweeted. Okay. Oh, that was LTA North said congrats to FlyQuest for being named coaching staff of the split, but there's no reply on who got second or third. Like they didn't reply and they didn't link to an article or anything. Dude, what is? Because
I only care about this personally. I only care about number 2 and number 3.
Well,
usually
the other
I
thing,
never care about first one.
The article also shows you how people vote, which is interesting. Normally, you can see all the people who voted, how they voted. You could see how different who voted on teams for who, which I think usually sparks discussion.
Yeah.
We'll
that one for sure is going to come out. Like, there's no way that part does not come out. I think it's just delayed because All Pro is not there yet.
Yeah. If people are saying Raz out of sync, I would just let everybody know that is because we are not using Skype anymore because we can't. And so everybody who decried the fact that I still use Skype, this is what the alternatives are.
It's not like you had a choice. It got shot and you didn't want to go to Teams.
I know, but everybody was always like, oh, you got to go do these other things. You can't. Teams does not support, to my understanding, the same way that Skype did.
But it's literally the replacement. How is that possible?
Yeah, but it doesn't have the NDI technology built into it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I don't know, dude. I think it's kind of crazy that there's no who got second for coach of the split. Why is there no article about this?
I don't even remember who I voted for second and third.
I think I voted.
I had SR third, and I think I had C9 second.
So you did get to vote, Cubby, because you were last week. You were saying
it's the first time ever I got an official ballot. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is sick. You deserve the vote, honestly.
Did that show up after? Yeah. You didn't know about it last week, right? Whenever we were talking about it on the show.
No, I did not. It happened over this week. So yeah.
Yes. Well.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. That was fun. So.
Wow, I legit don't remember who I have as third. Well, that'll be a surprise to me too.
Yeah, I put SR third because I actually felt like they kind of improved. So it was between them or Dig, but I'm pretty sure I put SR third.
It could be SR. I wanted to do Lion and then they fucking exploded.
Yeah,
so, that's not a thing.
I'm trying to remember how I voted. I think I put 100 Thieves in there. I'm trying to remember if I put them second or third.
Oh, I think you might have put them third.
Yeah, I think we talked about it, and I put them third because I was like, they still continue to do pretty good with team players that you wouldn't always think would do well. So,
Dig, Gratchy mentioned Dig. Dig was a tough one for me. I think their games a lot of the times, I saw a growth, and then you get to the end, and I didn't see that. But then
that is Dig all the time. By the way,
they were more disciplined, man.
For the last decade, this is Digitas, where you already start off strong and you're like, oh, maybe these guys are going to be good something. And it's so crazy because it exists. It's like an association with the name because they've changed ownership, they've changed leadership, they've changed management, they've changed players, they've changed coaching. And that's just like the Dig thing is they always start off strong and then fall off.
And then even the series in which they beat Lion, they had deficits and were not playing the map. Like, we're literally Lion were
Yeah.
playing the map better than them. And then Lion inted team fights into them. So it's like you can make the positive about Dignitas, like team fighting better. But then most of the time, Lion was actually the better team. So at least from that aspect, congrats on Dig. But I didn't want to give them third team coaching.
That's understandable.
But maybe it comes out and I did. I don't know who the fuck I voted for third at this point. Maybe I have no idea who did it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Fly C9 SR.
All right, whatever. Anyway,
All right.
I think so. We have coaches. We have the Abadage stuff, the Scary Jerry stuff. We have the games from this past week, and I hope people are down to call in about the matches because I think like the Shopify FlyQuest match was like really bizarre. It went in a way that I definitely did not expect. I don't know what the takeaways should be from there. I think I'm a little worried. Like, in my opinion, I would have rather seen FlyQuest just kind of stomp, not because I'm the certified Shopify hater on the show, which I know I am, but I think because like it would have made a better statement about the strength of our best team if they were just like clear sweeping these teams. But I don't know. Look, maybe we'll see some brilliance later on in the playoffs, but I would say this has been a rough start to playoffs for LTA. Is my thought process. So whatever. We'll get some calls in about this stuff. And yeah, were you gonna say something else?
No, I agree. I was really hoping that TL would show up more in their series. They did not. C9 showed up.
Well, if there's anything else
what fans think
that we're forgetting, chat, feel free to remind us or try to call into the show. And Cubby, how do people do that?
Discord.gg/Travis. If you guys want to drop your take at me, at Cubby, we'll drag you into the waiting room and go from there. So I only have the first caller, and we're going to grab some more calls from there. So plenty of room on the show for you guys to call on in.
Yeah. Hey, while we're getting those callers queued up, Cubby, do you want to give, as the NACL person, the update on what's going on with Near Airport? Because I know we probably have a lot of people in the audience who want to know about this, and there was some drama there last week.
I mean, if you actually want that call,
do we have a
call? There was one Near Airport take, but I guess there was some interesting stuff that happened. Well, one might say it was interesting. Pretty much, there was some drama about a pick banner. The enemy team went back and checked the stream. It ended up coming out that the ref said it was okay. But they went back, checked the stream. The airport were like, well, what the hell? Like, why are they checking our stream to check something where like that should be handled by refs, right? So then there was like, they're screen peeking, right? Like they're ghosting the stream, some of that. People went after Winthrop on Twitter. It was this whole thing that for me, like, it wasn't a big deal. I think that it was mishandled, like, on the TO's end and our end, as the ref should probably never do that, but also it was just weird. Anyway, that is something.
Too. I actually co-streamed that one. That was fun.
Yeah, it was something. Near Report, they survived. They beat Winthrop 3-2, so they stay alive in NSCL playoffs. But yeah.
If you have a take on that, it's great. But I also have an opinion. But I can just hold it. I'll just hold it.
We'll hold it just in case we get a call.
Yeah.
All right, Cubby, you want to go grab our first caller?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you to Ilmael, Hobnobbin at 64 months. That's crazy. Leo the Chosen, and George Zulu. George at 61 months. King Manchi, besides the 5 gifted earlier, also became or has 21 months over on YouTube. And then Bug Juice Reviews also hit 21 months. Man, 2 people tied neck and neck. Joshua, thank you for the 7 months. And then CS Cherry 12, thank you for the Prime. Thanks everybody for all of the subs and memberships across all these different platforms. We have Niicholodeon here. Niicholodeon, where are you calling from?
My God.
Outside Baltimore, Maryland.
Outside Baltimore, Maryland. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I feel like with DSG benching Scary Jerry, it feels like rookies have to avoid the guest slot because they just have an immediate need to perform. Otherwise, they can get benched like Jerry could. Well, Jerry did.
All right. So the idea is if you are a rookie player in North America and you are trying to make it into the LTA, you should probably avoid the guest spot, because the guest spot does not have time to like wait for you to get good. They're going to replace you if they need to. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Like, it's just true. It's funny when franchise is a thing. The big sell on franchise is, hey, the teams will be more patient. They'll add more rookies to their rosters. They have the incentive to. Incoming Korean like mid laner, bot laner, but it is true. Like, they have the incentive to actually pick up rookies. They just oftentimes don't do so. But to the point of the caller, I think if you're a rookie, you should take any option available to you. But if you only have that one option, which is the disguised option or whatever team is going to be at that slot, just take it. Take it and do the best you can with it. There's not much else you can do. But if you have another option, then yeah, you should probably avoid that. And the worst feeling too is going to be if you are fighting for tier 1. Let's say you are on Luminosity or like, any team trying to fight to get into tier 1, and then you have a DSG that's kind of blowing up and they're like, "Hey, do you want to join our team?" It's like, "No, first of all, that tier 2 team doesn't have the incentive to sell you that player, and B, that player will probably want to stick to the team that looks very stable."
Or do they?
by
I
the
mean,
way,
do
like,
tier 2 teams look very stable, Raz?
I mean, Luminosity's pretty stable. I don't know what the fuck's going on whenever a collegiate team performs, by the way. So, like, I think Dark Zero, even if they do well, I don't think they'll want to come up. But yeah, I think that they should feel confident that they will beat a DSG.
Yeah.
That is such an interesting situation you pose. Like, what do you do if you are a player and you can join the LTA right now and become an official LTA competitor with like a huge pay bump and all that stuff, but it's a team that you could potentially relegate? Creates a lot of tension.
I will say, like, there are some folks in chat being like, "Oh, your reputation's not worth getting tanked," right? I don't agree with that. I think that Raz agrees. Like, people that actually know or are in the know for the scene, like, unless you come in and are not a good teammate or not good to work with, I don't think your rep gets tanked from this. Obviously, if you don't play well, it doesn't help. But
Well, it tanks
I
with
think
the
people are
public, right? But you mean like behind the scenes tank?
Yeah, but like even with the public, I mean, everyone that I see talking about this there's been more Jerry defenders than not, right? Uh, I would like to think that it's still a bump, but yeah, I mean, I think the real question is like if you're Insanity and they ask you to play mid, would you actually leave? The answer is no. I think that LG would have a better chance than DSG at this point, which Raz is right about. But yeah, I think going into the season, I mean, why not? I think the tougher thing is just the fact that I know Jamada's in the chat and he tweeted that Jerry only had 20 games on stage over 5 months. Like, I don't think that's super conducive. I think that less reps hurt and it's not super conducive to developing talent either. And with the changes that the system like that we have just being made globally, where you have leagues where if you don't finish high enough, then you are playing in groups where you have less games, like Group Nirvana for LPL. They played a single round robin, whereas Group Ascension played a double round robin. Their teams being eliminated early on. LCK is going to have a 2 group system next split as well. I do think that with like some of the format changes, it is a little bit harder to get stage reps early on, and it is going to be harder to be more successful early on, just because we are going to have less games and less chances overall.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think the only world in which there are going to be some players that are like, I will probably wait for a better offer or stick to what I'm doing right now. Like, a player that comes to my mind is like Pobelter. Now, I don't know if Pobelter wants to play in tier 1. I don't know. Like, he's doing quite really well for himself in streaming. And the question would be like, if he wants to play in tier 1 and DSG is the option, should he take it? Maybe not. As long as if he's still streaming at the same regular pace and everything, and he feels like he can perform there, great. Otherwise, probably just, stick to streaming and performing where he is because he's doing really well for himself. But for DSG, it would be a great steal to go for someone like Pobelter or where they kind of need like someone who's a veteran, vocal, performing right now, kind of what Abadago is supposed to do. And maybe he did, but we didn't see that. And then for the AD carry position, that one's a rough one because like people love to use the word recycling, but he is literally just an LCS or LTA player, which is wow, I'm literally just blanking on the tactical. He's very good, and he would fit well on that team, but obviously I don't think he will join just because there's no reason for Luminosity to blow up their own team.
Yeah,
Makes no sense. They're the team that wants to get in and take their spot.
they're the favorites right now by a lot. But
yeah, but we also don't
I
know
mean,
the nature of the deals that they have with these players, right? Like, I actually don't know if
I know Luminosity is good enough where there's not going to be a money incentive for them to go.
yeah,
okay,
Yeah,
at least with Luminosity.
and Dark Zero, you're dropping a scholarship, right? So at least for the majority of those players.
And it's not an upgrade. Like, I love Sajed and I love the players that they have in Dark Zero, but like Scary Jerry is a good player. The problem is, like, it was a combination of the competition in Tier 1 being significantly better. That's just a fact. When you're jumping from Tier 2 to Tier 1,
Yeah,
you're playing significantly better players in a different environment altogether. And if you have a side grade and it's not going to make an impact, I don't know if they're going to go to like LCKCL, or if they wanted to go to Europe because now they also, have a slot available for import. Maybe they go for somebody like Unforgiven, who's really talented and who can immediately play on stage without any nerves. I'm not sure, but I don't like the Scary Jerry change if they're just gonna go for someone in Tier 2 North America. That's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. If you're
I
just
don't
gonna go,
think they will.
yeah,
Yeah, I think right now if I'm looking at mid and AD, I would take Toasty over a lot of candidates, and he's native. I just for mid, and I would not take a lot of ADs. Like I think tactical that you listed, I mean that would be takeable for DSG, but he's not going to say yes. And out of the NICL options, there really isn't a better one. You'd have to go recruit like Lens, who went to TCL to find a reasonable NACL player, and he's not better than Jerry, like straight up on paper, right? So
is there
yeah,
any
there's
world where you take
Look at this guy. By the way, Chronicler is lying in the chat. This man is saying LCKCL sucks. I wouldn't look for players there. He's trying to protect his players. Rob him. Rob him of his players.
oh no.
Rob him of every single LCKCL talent out there.
dude? Twitch chat tonight is just a mega tilter for me. I can't. I'm like foaming at the mouth because you got Chronicler in there just lying, just lying Chronicler. That's what they call him. You got people in the chat who are like, beep, I'm a Jeep 2015. I don't know why I'm getting baited by somebody's name is Beep, I'm a
That's
Jeep
a great
2015.
name. That is a great name.
Like, Travis, you're 36 years old and you're just arguing with people named Beep, I'm a Jeep 2015. This person was probably born in 2015. That's probably why it's there. And I'm arguing with an 11-year-old. But
Don't argue with them, please. I'm begging.
But Beep, I'm a Jeep says, if you work at a corporate job, you fuck up 20 times, you're definitely fired. I love, and by love, I mean I get incredibly annoyed and tilted by people who are just like, well, let me just directly correlate this esports experience to my personal working life. If I talk to my boss like that, I'm fucking fired. People are always doing that shit. It's just so funny. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if these are directly related. I don't know if you can compare them that way. I think that might be a false comparison.
Well, if someone's bad at his office job, but there's no fucking replacement for him because he's the best one you can afford, then maybe you keep that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also don't even know, like, would we say Scary Jerry is bad at his job? Like, I think there's so many different factors that create, the performance that players have. I'm constantly, I know I've gone on this rant before, so I'll keep it short, but like, I'm already, one of the greatest tragedies of LCS for me was Revenge, who I thought was always really good, but was ELO held his entire career, so
Agreed.
contract jailed, etc. So I get aggravated by takes like these. Anywho,
And the worst thing too is that this team is just losing every game, so everyone is gonna say that all of their players are bad. So it's like there's no winning a conversation about how to build this team because we don't know what they're willing to do to build it back up or spend or what they're doing to scout. And the entire community just thinks that every single one of their players is replaceable. So it's like, well, I don't know what you want, brother. So we'll just wait until they make their decision.
Yeah. I do like your take though, Nickelodeon. It's definitely something to think about. I think the conversation around it is fascinating. I did it since we're on the disguise stuff. Cubby, is there any world, because I've seen this conversation happening elsewhere, is there any world where Poe Belter joins Disguised? He was a
No.
streamer for the team beforehand. He's friends with Toast.
I know.
He is their official co-streamer guy. That is true.
They have the relationship.
I've not heard there's a world where we're gonna see Poe playing. I will say that if he were to play, like he's good. Poe is still good actually. It's been fun.
Because he seems like he's been aggravated with the near airport stuff.
He'd be much better than Abad. Like he is a better player than Abadage right now. Like he's actually good. But no, I have not heard that Pope's going to play. So,
yeah, I'm not asking if you've heard anything. Yeah. I'm just like,
I have heard that like that's something where it was actually considered as an option, and Pope is just like, I don't think Pope's into it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's streaming right now. Everyone go to his stream and ask him the question. No,
don't do that.
No,
don't do
don't
that.
do it. You're gonna get
Pope's
banned.
actually
You're gonna
good.
get permabanned. You guys are gonna get permabanned. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Pope's
I'm gonna get blacklisted. You know, I'm not trying to do
shit.
That would not be a bad option. It really would not.
So you would be excited for Disguised if they picked up Poe Belter?
No, I'm more excited for who I hope they get. Or
okay, you've heard stuff.
I'm really hoping that they go for there's like I've talked a lot about Toasty as an NA mid, like a player. I feel like has not been an NACL, but I feel like he would be next up, and I really hope that they end up going for Toasty. So yeah,
it does make sense, right? Because it's the Disguised Toast team. There's a player named Toasty.
The kid's just good. I actually think this kid's good. So I hope that's the move.
Yeah, but again, the names. All right, that's the bigger focus here.
True.
Nickelodeon, thanks so much for the call. Anything you would add to anything that we said, or any reactions to what we were talking about?
Oh no, I agree with most of what you guys said.
Well, anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, Raz's streams, they're lit. Go watch him when he's streaming. Prize Picks and NZXT.
Thank you so much.
That's
for the
my
call.
goat. That's my goat. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
I just noticed somebody leave the waiting room, which I find very funny. There were 2 people in the waiting room. Now we've got 1. Cubby, we're still looking for takes, right?
Yeah, no, we are. I have been still walking the takes tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I saw some chatter in before where they're like, "Oh, they take too many people early on, and you're just waiting around. And you don't have a spot." So
I have no one in the waiting room after this next caller. So if you guys have takes, far away.
Yeah. All right. Off Cubby goes to grab the next caller. Thank you to Benjamin for the Prime, 55 months. Asisa for 2 years. Really appreciate it. I saw people. Okay, people keep trying to tag Chronicler for this conversation about a game called 100 Line because I played Expedition 33. I beat Expedition 33. It is so good. Highly recommend people play Expedition 33. I think Raz, you would love Expedition 33.
Yeah, I'm getting to it soon.
Soon. It is so good. FTC disclosure, they gave me a key for the game. I'm not sponsored. They did not pay me any money. I just was given a key so that I could play it if I wanted to. But it is very good. One of the best games I've played. Probably best narrative game I've played since Baldur's Gate 3 and I don't know, top 2 narrative games I've played in the last 6 or 7 years. I don't know. I thought it was super, super good. Probably not since Death Stranding have I played something besides Baldur's Gate that I liked as much as this. So
that's sick.
But yeah, Chronicler. People keep talking about Chronicler. I was talking about this and somebody was like, "Play 100 Line Defense Academy." Have you heard of this game, Rez?
I have not heard of this game.
Yeah, everybody, when I tweeted about Expedition 33, people were tagging Chronicler in about it, and I see it again in the chat. People are trying to get him to talk to me about it.
Unless Chronicler told me about the game and I forgot, which is very, very likely.
Yeah. I think, Mac to Ace says Game of the Year. I think it's going to be It's gonna be. We'll see. Death Stranding 2 will be the only thing that I can think of right now that might be a challenger for game of the year. So, but we'll see. I don't know. We still have most of the year left, so who knows? We got MissTimed here. MissTimed, where are you calling from?
Good evening. I am calling from the PNW.
Pacific Northwest. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, I want to talk about next week. I think 100 Thieves versus Shopify Rebellion will be the most fun series of all playoffs, and also our best chance at getting the mythical fourth game in BO5 Fearless. I hear in other regions they actually get to go to 4 and 5. Sounds really exciting. It makes me sad, though, that one of these teams is going to be eliminated because I think they're the most fun to watch, and we have to lose one of them. But since they're the most fun, playing against each other, that series will be the most fun to watch.
Okay, can you help me elaborate on fun here, right? Because I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, the skill in that game is going to be terrible." Like, what we really want is like Fly C9, which is coming up in upper bracket finals. Like, so what do you mean by fun? Why is this the one that you think is going to be the most fun?
Genji versus a bronze team, the skill will be really high on one side, but it's not going to be a fun game to watch, probably,
Gotcha.
right? And I think that Shopify and 100 Thieves are actually fairly well matched. There are also both teams that tend to have high highs, but make lots of messy mistakes.
Gotcha.
And I think that combination kind of adds where things get into a weird place because of mistakes, but then because they have really high potential to make incredible plays, that makes it all the more exciting because they get in dangerous places and pull off crazy things.
It's definitely, I can support that. It's definitely going to be the closest series on paper, because we just saw this matchup, and that's the reason why 100 Thieves are in the lower bracket, is because
right.
Shopify ended up taking them out, which is so I'm excited for it. I still think that C9 versus Fly at some point is going to be fun. Like, if it's not going to be on
like
the upper
first
bracket,
time?
yeah, exactly. If it's not going to be in the upper bracket in playoffs, it might be the finals. It's at some point, because the C9 versus Fly series that we did see, that was the fastest series. I mean, C9 just hard trolled, and that will not be the same C9 we'll see in the future. But I'm still holding out for that one. I'm holding out for a Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves, which I expect to be going out of the losers bracket. But I still think that from the quarterfinals or the first round of playoffs, that should be the most exciting series. Shopify 100.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for me. Like, I thought, for instance, that the Cloud9 Team Liquid match was going to be the most fun, and I don't feel like it was very fun. And so I'm like, it's hard to say, but I'm more excited about these sort of higher team matches, even if they are not as chaotic as the Shopify 100 Thieves one. MissTimed, do you have a prediction for how that series is going to go?
Ooh, oh no, I lean 100 Thieves, but Shopify has been on, I think, an upward trajectory that, it makes it hard to, by next week, right? Their practice might have been enough to give them the edge, and especially if 100 Thieves keep their kind of spiral going. The momentum does actually favor Rebellion, I think, but I do lean 100 Thieves.
Yeah. I definitely think 100 Thieves will take it. Wondering about Cubby, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm probably 100 Thieves. I definitely think that this series is not going 3, though. If someone's gonna throw a game in this series, because at times these teams
you
can
could be like Team Liquid and you could throw multiple games and still have it be a 3.
True, maybe.
Like,
I think this one's 4 or 5.
100 Thieves lost in the most insane way. Like,
They
the
did.
Smolder game, that was so, like, an actual egregious loss. Like,
Yeah.
FBI was so far ahead. That one should just be a free win, but they may have trolled a few times getting into those fights, so he never really could play it. And then the Arilla game was not great. So that's like 100 Thieves, even in the series in which they lost, I felt they were still the better team. So I'm still kind of leaning on that. It's weird. Shopify's problems to me is, when P-Boy first came to the league, I think he got first team All Pro instantly. which like subverted a lot of my expectations because I've seen him throughout my career when he was on Royal Club in Tier 2, and then I think he was on JDG for a brief stint. Like he had been on a few Chinese teams, and I always felt as though he was somebody that played stable, but in big moments, like definitely did not play well in big moments. And then obviously people will now look at the blast cone incident. I think that is whatever. That's not great. But my problem is that he just didn't have a great split. And I feel like they don't have a real explosive element on the team other than Fudge, who's been playing really well recently, and sometimes Contracts. But then Contracts will either have the Shen game that he had that was versus FlyQuest that was pretty poor, or the Viego game. No, the Kha'Zix game 2 versus Team Liquid, that was really, really poor. Regis tunnels. So I'm like, it's hard to really nail this team down, and I don't have a lot of faith in them in a long series.
Yeah. We were MissTimed. You were saying that you think this will be the first time that we get, or our best chance of getting 4 games. I don't want to send us too off into the side tangent here, but this match, looking at the schedule, is the Sunday match, which means that beforehand we have Team Liquid and Dig. So just to kind of spice up the take a bit, will we get our first 4-game series on Sunday, or do we think there's a better chance of it happening? How confident are we that we won't get it Saturday?
I definitely could be wrong, but I'm going to confidently say that it's Sunday, not Saturday.
TL 3-0, you assume? Or Dig 3-0?
I think it'll go either way. I think either will be very, very funny, because it shouldn't. Like, that's part of what's frustrating me. It is like the Shopify versus FlyQuest shouldn't have been a 3-0. But it was. And sometimes you can see these on paper beforehand where you're like, well, that shouldn't be a 3-0. That it should be closer. So I don't think the TL versus Dig right now is a 3-0. Like, should be. But it would be fun. Sorry, am I not making any sense?
No,
you are.
Yeah.
I think that one will go to 4. I don't think TL's playing clean enough right now, and I don't think Dig's like that terrible. Even though that matchup has been very TL favored. But we're going to trust Dig again.
I don't see a way in which Dig wins a game. There's a lot of time that can come. I love how I'm just wearing the jersey.
No. I know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I know.
That should be clipped. That's great.
I love how that's a thing. Wait a minute. But like, there's a lot of time from when they played versus Lion, which should be a positive. But I don't know. I just think the way they played the map versus Lion was not great till now. So there's a lot that could change.
If they pick scale, do you think? Because they always go so late.
The only reason why I wouldn't is because Team Liquid is good at pressing early. Like, especially if APA gets Tilia. Like, I generally think that they're pretty good in the early game. Obviously, it doesn't look like that because they got ran by C9.
Yeah.
But they destroyed Shopify Rebellion coming into it, and a lot of that was just like early game stomps versus Shopify in the cross group. So I think it's going to be tough for Dig. And usually when Dig has leads, if Dig has leads, they still are really risk averse and don't play for fights that are winning for them yet. So I don't know. I think the big matchup is probably going to be top lane. Surdy, I think, has had like pretty good games, whereas Impact has been the opposite. So that could be something that Dig can take advantage of.
Yeah.
True. I think Sunday is probably more likely to go to 5, where we might get a 4 on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. I definitely think that the Sunday match, Shopify 100T, should be a closer matchup than TL Dig, but who knows what's going to happen actually with LTA, this split in particular in this playoffs. It seems like we're off to kind of a crazy start. So yeah. I'm down for the look. I was a little less interested in the Sunday match, I'll admit, because I don't have a lot of faith in either of those teams to end up feeling competitive against the top teams. Maybe that's silly of me because 100 Thieves has shown that they can surprise. But you've gotten me more excited about that matchup because I do think that the games are going to be chaotic and fun and kind of explosive and that type of thing. So
I think you're too
My
down
work
on
is done.
100. I think you're too down on 100. I think 100's good. I think they just had look. Our split is just weird. Okay, it's just weird because literally a good chunk of the games happen during the positioning phase, and people will immediately forget about the positioning phase because technically it doesn't matter the moment you get put in groups. But they were literally 3rd, 5, and 2 in positioning and beat Cloud9. So it's like they are a good team that had a bad series, and I think they will make a run. The only problem is I don't know if they beat Team Liquid. So I'm generally pretty high on 100 Thieves as a team going into playoffs.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how things go. I'm excited, and I'm glad that we got a call in about that series because I felt like that was the one that we would not see as much love for. So, thank you so much for calling, MissTimed. Anything you want to shout out?
You can always rely on me for having love for contracts and 100 Thieves. I don't know if I have much shout outs this week. Shout out to Team Liquid for taking my advice first time I called in and doing the flying oysters method. It didn't work out this time, but they've only just started. So I'm not worried about it. I think it's meta. If you could afford it.
Awesome.
So shout out to them. And shout out to Travis G running Hotline League every week. It's awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
it is.
Really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
your time.
I'll catch you next time. All right. It is
Travis
time
G is carrying.
It's time for us to take a quick break and talk about NZXT. To rhyme something with Travis G, NZXT. All right. I have behind me, okay, the audio is going to get weird because I'm going to be running behind me really quickly, but they have officially sent me the new, I need to be very careful with the address on here. I didn't realize I didn't take that. Okay, this side does not show the address. They have officially sent me not only the NZXT Kraken Elite 420 RGB, which is brand new, but behind me, I also have. Okay, hang on. The H9 Flow RGB Plus, which is their new flagship case. And they sent this all to me just this past week. You know why? Because it all got announced last week at Computex. That's right. These are new products available from NZXT now. They announced both the H9, the new H9, which is their new flagship case for high-performance setups and showcase builds. They also announced, unfortunately, I don't have it with me because I chose the H9 when they asked me which one I wanted. The H3, which is a return to the micro ATX form factor for those that are looking for a smaller case for maybe a smaller room or something along those lines. The new Kraken Plus 2025 is a new Kraken series cooler which leverages NZXT's turbine pump, and the 420, the new Kraken Elite 420, adds 420 mm AIO offering to the Kraken Elite series. So it's really cool to see them announce all these new things, these new products, these cases and fans and coolers at Computex this past week. And we're going to be showcasing more of that. I should have a video soon with some of these products. But I did want to give a big shout out to NZXT for launching some new stuff for people who are looking to upgrade their system or do their own build. You can head over to nzxt.co/Travis. And when you do, use code Travis5 to save on your order of these new products. There's a link in the description. There's one in Twitch. There's one on YouTube. But really awesome to see NZXT come out with some new products, and happy to support them as they send me this stuff and I get to take a look at it firsthand. So thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. Looking forward to seeing more from them as time goes on, and stay tuned to my channels for coverage of these products. Awesome. All right. Looks like we have a couple time for some more callers as the show continues.
All right.
going
Yeah.
off to grab somebody.
Let's do this.
What? The way Cubby said that makes me sound very suspicious of the next caller. He goes,
Oh, hell no. He's going to bring in another Trojan horse.
oh, God. Zammy Bars, thank you for gifting a sub. And Perchy99, thank you for the 55 months. Really appreciate all the support over on Twitch, YouTube as well. Thank you.
I already see the Trojan horse.
I didn't think that's her. Is it her, or does she have did she change her profile picture to something?
That's a great question.
Ominous. Hello.
No, that's probably not.
We are joined right now by Basil. Basil, what's your name and where are you calling from? Or sorry, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the glorious state of California.
Yeah, this is not the Basil that you thought it was, Raz. I can tell you that.
I don't know about that. How many
No,
cats
I'm
have you
cuter.
drawn this week?
Like 3 or 4,
Okay, there it is.
maybe 5.
All right. Basil
That's what I
from
thought.
California.
Yes.
Are you using a voice changer by any chance?
Yeah, I just felt like I didn't want people to know that I was stooping so low as to be on this kind of mediocre show that's kind of falling off a little bit.
Sounds like Basil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about on the show, Basil?
I think that Shopify Rebellion is going to claw their way back for the Vengeance matchup in the finals against FlyQuest.
Who are you paid by?
Yeah, what is going on? Okay. Why don't you go ahead and elaborate?
I think FlyQuest has just looked like the best and most dominant team, like, by a mile.
Okay.
Especially after they completely slapped Cloud9.
Agree with you there.
And Shopify was the one team that they actually struggled against, and I think they're starting to scale, particularly Fudge. Fudge looked like maybe like the worst, maybe not the worst, maybe like the second worst top laner in the league at the start of the split. And I think he's probably in contention for being the maybe like second or third best. He's actually been like handling Whippo pretty easily in lane. And I think in the upcoming game against 100, especially with Sniper kind of underperforming, I think Fudge is going to roll straight through him, and then TL just looks bad. So I don't really think they're going to put up much of a fight. And Cloud9 are just kind of chokers. So
Okay. Like
That's great.
the crux of your
Wait, wait,
argument,
this
I
sound
feel
nice
like, is
and
coming
easy.
down to TL bad C9 chokers. So
I love this so much.
yes,
do you think
my God.
Shopify is going
Okay.
to go to MSI?
I think that's a bit of a stretch. It really depends on if Palafox can just kind of find form, because I think every other part of the team is actually doing pretty well. I think maybe Zeus is not like a top 3 support, but he's still fine enough. He's still passable. And B-Boy, he did have like obviously the blast cone incident, but he played really well. He just had like a couple of like little oopsies, I think, in the series versus FlyQuest, but other than that, he was pretty stable. Contracts has been consistently probably their best player, like, all split.
Mhm.
And Fudge is good, so literally they just need Palafox to have kind of like, or at least hit like a similar level to what he did in 2023, and I think they actually could easily punch into top 2.
God, you know what's funny?
FlyQuest is kind of a brick wall, though.
I actually
I don't
thought,
think anyone can get past FlyQuest.
yeah, I actually thought Palafox had some really good games in this series versus Fly. I'm trying to remember which one it was where he just won lane handily.
That series from SR and the carries. I mean, I know that like there are some good moments earlier on, but then there are also just some moments later on that just build like zero faith, for the long haul. Because I feel like that's not something that SR has been able to shake, not just given FlyQuest being their opponents, right? But like them versus Dignitas going late. I mean, this is the only thing I agree with you on is when you said that Contracts has been the best player for the split for SR. I'm very out on this take. I think that SR do not get through 100 Thieves.
Well, let's
Do
talk
you
about their
actually
match.
think that Fudge can not completely roll over Sniper, though? Like, Sniper has been legitimately, like, bad this year. Like, I don't know what happened.
I
thought
think that
after the lane
Fudge
swaps were
can.
gone, he would be good, but
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that matchup, if anything, is one of the more even matchups for SR. I'd still give it slightly sniper favored, even with him kind of like, I agree not having a great split, but I'd be more concerned about other matchups in that series for SR.
You know what's funny? Okay, this is gonna be good. So the game that I was referring to that Palafox had a good game in was actually the third game. He like heavy out traded, did really well versus quad in the Ori Hui matchup, and then like had a really good roam top lane. So I was like, there are elements in which, yes, like Palafox is performing in that series, and I think he can carry it over. But no, like let's take a step back. So a lot of the takes that you've had, I agree with about Fudge playing better and better, Contracts being a consistent player, even though I referenced some of his poor games in the TL series, and their bot lane is solid. Like all of these things are true. But then you just took a leaps and bounds, being like C9 are chokers. Man, they just had one bad series versus
TL is
Fly.
just gonna be bad.
TL is just gonna be bad. I was like, wait a minute. TL just like completely stopped SR recently, very recently. So unless if there are changes like NRG like changes like throughout the playoffs, like a miracle run happens, everyone is just on in flow state, then sure, I think your overall result, like the take that you're going for, can happen. But it would actually need so much huffing of copium for me to get there with you. On the sniper thing that I heard, okay, you guys are gonna love this. Who do you guys think I vote? I mean, I just kind of set it up really poorly. Yeah, sniper, I had him as third team All-Pro. I think here's what's so funny. Everybody will disregard the positioning phase as if it does not fucking matter. And I understand it because it technically did not fucking matter when it went in the group stage. Like, but it did matter to my votes. It's a part of the split. Every game for me counts. And I thought Sniper played very well in the positioning phase. And then had like a bad series versus SR. So I was like, I actually thought that, yeah. So that's I like that point of the conversation. I cannot wait for all pros to come out for that reason.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they actually come out and we can see who voted for what.
I really wanted to put NA for third, like all pro, like just put the top two.
Can we? I know
NA.
we've been dancing around it a little bit and referencing like this past weekend's games, but like, okay, let's just dive into it. The match on Saturday, I think most people, including such as myself, thought that it was going to be a stop, and that it would not be competitive, but it was, even though it was a 3-0, a fairly competitive 3-0. So can you guys help me understand what happened there? Because I'm trying to figure out how much of this was like FlyQuest having like a slump week versus like Shopify overperforming expectations. Like where are we at?
It sounded like FlyQuest had a bit of a weird week of practice. I think that FlyQuest as a team at times draft scaling. And yes, in a way, the series was closer than what we thought, but they still embarrassed SR in a way where, like, it was competitive, but SR still got embarrassed, you know? Like, so I was kind of stuck on what my thoughts were for this series, because, like, in one way, it's like, okay, SR, they can, like, play toe-to-toe against this team early game. Like, they can make plays and get ahead, and then it's just like, oh, but we can't make decisions later on to keep us in the game. Like,
Yeah, they don't
some
know
of the
how to
decisions
win.
they made late were just like really poor, right? Or like watching Blippo play Renekton into them and just like walk in, tank everything up, walk out, TP back. So like they're just down tools now, and like watch him just kind of play with them consistently. I mean, or like get out of game states where I felt like FlyQuest shouldn't have gotten back into the game, but they did. Like in a way, it felt like FlyQuest were just off. But then because they were just such a better team, they won, and it still ended up for me like embarrassing Shopify Rebellion, even if those games were kind of closer. I felt like there were just moments where carries for SR really dropped the ball later on, or just calls as a team really dropped the ball later on. So I don't like personally, even though it was closer than what we thought would happen against FlyQuest. I have no extra faith in Shopify Rebellion after that performance. Like, I really don't, just because of the manner in which they lost the games. And in one hand, you can be like, oh, that's easily fixable. But in another hand, like, I think this has been a common trend for SR. Like losing the long series against Dignitas, right? or just like these games going ridiculously late. It's more of a concern that I have for the team than like oh, this is a pro, right? Like they're able to take other like all teams late. Well, they're not winning these games consistently, right? So yeah.
I think so FlyQuest will have problems versus teams that will take really scrappy fights that are not very structured well. Like that's why they lost 100 Thieves, it felt like, in Split 1. Where it comes down to, like, for instance, in Game 2, there's a topside fight that Shopify won pretty heavily. And it was because there was like a 1v1 or a 2v2 happening around Blippo, and then they were collapsing on, I think, contracts in the river at the same time. But then the rest of Shopify comes in and backs it up. Like, these are not fights you can plan for. You just have to be making the right decisions at the right time to know, should we take this fight? Should we move to help Blippo? Should Blippo drop his fight to come to us? Like, what do we do? And so if it gets fucking messy, if it's something that's unplanned or just requires you to make the best decisions in the moment, that's when it feels like FlyQuest tends to drop the ball, because their setups are really good, their drafts are usually really good. Like they have a pretty strong understanding of map play. Shopify Rebellion generally doesn't. I thought they actually messed up one of their swaps in this series pretty badly. There was a point in which like Blippo was like 1v2 freezing as a Renekton or something, because the way they did their swap was really fucking weird. And I was like, that should never happen. But like Shopify Rebellion and I think 100 Thieves will generally get wins off of these fights, these team fights. They're I don't want to use the word, but like instinctual players. If they get it put in a moment, they can definitely play around it. That is not well planned, not well structured. I think they've done it multiple times in the past. But then can they end games? No. Like the whole meme this entire year for 100 Thieves is like they'll throw their games at 20 minutes, even if they have like good game states. And Shopify Rebellion has done that in this series. And how large was their lead like in game 2? I don't remember. It was a pretty large lead.
8K?
7. I think it was 7.
Yeah.
7K. And they can't end that game. So that just happens for teams that don't have the structure that can get those leads. But then now you have to be able to play 2 lanes or something to end the game, or play a Baron situation properly to end the game. It's a blessing for them because they are great team fighters sometimes, and a curse because they can't fucking end the game.
Do you think that maybe that first series, since it was in the upper bracket, was just limit testing from genius midfielder Palafox, though?
I don't want to say we're limit testing in a playoff match ever.
I think I can't remember. By the way, this is a Saturday game, so my memory is so like rough.
Yeah. It's Tuesday, and this was on Saturday. You're just gone.
This is gone. But I do remember his Oriana game was good. Everyone for sure remembered the whole Mordekaiser double QSS thing. That was rough.
Yeah,
I think that was a weird one. But yeah, I thought he played pretty well. It was like a team diff, and FlyQuest is the best map play team, so
yeah.
It is weird.
SR carries just don't position. They did not position well enough early on in fights, and FlyQuest really punished that. I think if they changed that, it could have been different, but that's just like a trend I see with that team too. So it's just kind of a concern.
And by the way, meanwhile, C9 is literally just like one of the best team fighting teams in the league. Best in terms of like map play. I mean, not better than FlyQuest. Like they are really set up for success. The only times where it's been a question mark is A versus FlyQuest, which is fine, and then B when they didn't have much of a scrim week, so they went up against Line and almost lost 2-0. Those are the 2 moments where it got pretty rough for them. Oh yeah, your chat just reminded me to get out of Mortal Ulti. Be right back.
Get out. What? Turn the light on. All right. Whatever. Basil, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on anything that we've been talking about here, because I am with Kobe and Raz, where I think this is kind of crazy, your take, and I just don't see it happening. But
So,
if you would like to rebuttal on anything.
I do just have a quick question. When was the last time that Cloud9 has made an international?
All right, calm down.
And what
Basil.
happened to them in
No,
the playoff
you're not
bracket?
wrong. This
What
is what
happened
they have
at
to
that
conquer.
international?
Calm down.
This is what they
With
have to
certain
conquer this time.
Contracts and Palafox.
All right.
Let's relax. Okay.
The true believers The true believers don't need facts. They don't need logic. We got copium. SR is gonna make it. It's gonna be beautiful. In fact, fuck it. They're gonna beat FlyQuest in the finals.
Oh my god. Get
They're
this
gonna go
man
to
out of here.
MSI.
Get
Basil,
this
anything you
man
want
outta
to shout
here.
out here at the end?
Yes. One, shout out to NZXT. I have an NZXT computer. Shout out to my favorite analysts, Raz and Emily. And a special shout out to Captain Flowers, because I was at the grocery store during one of the games and I was just listening to it on audio, and he was such a good play-by-play caster that I could visualize the game just by hearing his casting. It was legitimately amazing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the N6T shout out, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Looks like we have maybe one more caller to go for the evening. A little bit of a quieter episode as we're still getting into playoffs. But Cubby, do you want to go grab our next caller? Oh, there it goes.
FlyQuest is in the chat. Hearing Basil talk shit about FlyQuest. Can we do something about this?
So true.
Can something be done?
Chronicler says peak Hotline League. You love it. All right. Thank you to Icebreaker Mints for the 15 months. Eddie for the 6 months over on YouTube. Joseph Joestar, thank you for the 42 months. Shavul for the 54. Perchy 99 for the 55. And Zammy Bars. I believe I shouted you guys out, but just want to make sure in case I forgot. All right. We've got one final caller to go. And then we're going to be getting into stuff. Just to mention, I'll be at MagicCon in Vegas towards the end of June. So if anybody is going, please say hi. And let me know if you're going, and then we'll say hi. I'm going to probably try to host some drafts at the creator area, so that should be good for people who want to do that. It's the week after LTA finals, so I think it's the 21st and 22nd. That sounds about right. I think it's those days. All right, we've got Narfidy here. Narfidy, where are you calling from?
Sunny Lake Stevens, Washington.
Sunny Lake Stevens, Washington. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I think after everything I saw this week, I was like, yep, I've seen enough. Pack it up. North America is about to have the worst performance at MSI in any history.
Why?
What the fuck?
I had to do a little research on this. It's kind of a hard bar to beat because, what was it? TSM got 2 wins in like 2015 or whatever it was. Whatever that first MSI was, I think.
Tallahassee.
that was like probably the first league event I actually watched. Fun fact.
Good.
I think there's a lot of reasons. One, for whatever reason, I just think a lot of the teams have been playing below their normal level this year so far. FlyQuest has had a lot of pretty shaky games. They seem to be playing down to the level of their teammates or to their opponents. C9 keeps losing to 100 Thieves. Team Liquid has this 6-man roster drama. 100 Thieves, I love them to death. They're my favorite team, but they're major coin flippy. And then I don't think SR and Dig have like legitimate chances at the championship. And then we get 2 seeds, but one of them's from the South squad, which is going to be like our 5th seed. We're the only region that's kind of handicapped in that way. So I just I got like this little bug in the back of my brain that's saying maybe at Worlds this year, but not yet.
All right, who's picking this one up first? You want to go, Travis?
Okay, look, I'm not feeling super optimistic about our chances going into MSI either, just because I feel like this split has just been really weird. And to your Raz's point, maybe it is just the structure of the format of this split that has kind of thrown me off in terms of evaluating the competency of our teams. But I don't feel sort of the blazing beacon of light from any of our teams that I normally do. I think if you'd spoken to me before this past weekend, I would have felt like FlyQuest could do that, but I think the Shopify stuff just really shook me on their strength. I do think they'll almost certainly be our team going to MSI because I just don't look at any of the rest of the teams and say, okay, this is who could take on FlyQuest and win, including Shopify, previous caller. But I don't know. I here's the thing. People who watch the show know that I'm not great about keeping up with all the other regions during the regular season. So maybe Chronicler or Jamada or whoever in the chat can help me feel better by telling me that their regions are sucking right now. And it's like, okay, maybe we're all just going to have like a weaker MSI performance compared to previous years. But in terms of North America alone, I'm not getting my hopes up too much, which is a pity because it's in North America this year. And North American teams, I feel like seemingly tend to not look as great whenever they play in North America. I think it's usually just like a bad luck situation, but yeah.
All right,
I don't
Travis, I can
Yes.
handle this. I can handle
Thank you.
this. All right. So first statement, it being the worst we've ever performed. You're right. Very low bar. You mentioned one example, which is probably the best example against you, which is the 1-4 talking, team TSM. 2015, 2017 was also pretty bad. 4-6 from TSM. 4-6 from Team Liquid. They couldn't make it out of group. 3-7 from C9. They couldn't make it out of group. 2023, probably the worst you can make a case for. No, well, so C9 and Golden Guardians, like technically Golden Guardians got double, like it just got bumped. Lost to JDG like 3-0, and then they lost to C9, and C9 did win a series, but it was versus North America. So all of that being said, I think my take about how we will do, let's talk about China. So, who's the best team right now in the LPL? Gubby.
Great question.
Top Esports. Do we have faith in that team?
No.
I mean, I would say that if there are other teams that show up on the day, I feel like they're better than top at this point. But playoffs will prove that potentially.
During the
shall
regular
see.
season, they're looking
Yeah.
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then from the European side, the two teams that are looking pretty hot, the not named G2. Like G2 obviously is looking great, unfortunately. But then
Okay.
you have
Yeah.
K-Corp, and guess what? We beat their ass, and we were in last place during first stand. And then you go to Movistar Koi. God, they can change their name how many times they want. They are not going to play better in international just because they change their name. And in fact, if they do make it, we're taking their success. JoJo's ours, so anything that they do is also a North American success. That's just my call. All right, that's the call I'm making. But all in all, to be serious in your point, I think we have had some very, very bad MSI performances, and I do think that the European teams we can beat, and by we, I mean FlyQuest.
That's the rub, Raz. We only have half the chances as we normally do to have a good NA performance.
It's usually really good that your one representative is stomping your region, as bad as it is for competition. If your one team that is going to be representing your region is doing very well, then it should give you confidence.
You guys really feel like it's to be FlyQuest too. Neither of you said C9. I still feel like that's contested.
It is.
Yeah.
But it would require FlyQuest to play poorly, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think from the draft perspective, they're just more well equipped. They're more willing to flex things. I think from even though like Thanato's been playing really well, I think Bippo's slightly better. I think Quad is slightly better, if not just is just a better mid laner. Inspired is better, like just pound for pound, matchup for matchup, other than bot lane. Bot lane C9, I like bot lane C9.
Okay.
And C9 is technically like they play better as a team, but FlyQuest also just is a great unified squad as well and play team fights much better. So I don't know. It would require C9 to look much different than they did during regular season.
Okay. I feel like it's like a 60-40 still at some point. Like I favor FlyQuest, but I still feel like whoever shows up on that day can win. If it does come down to those two.
I like the mods. I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I've been watching Europe and LCK this year in addition to North America, so I've kind of seen how those play. I liked Europe has had like a lot of competition at the top, which I think has been really fun to watch this year. And LCK's LCK. They're gonna send HLE, Genji, and like just completely Batista bomb everybody that they come up against this year. I just my bar, my personal bar, is we just have to shit on those lads across the pond in Europe, and I'll be very happy. But I just I don't know if that's gonna happen this MSI.
Yeah, Korea is and China is much better. I made the troll about top esports. They're still gonna wipe the floor with us. That's for sure.
I feel like I mean, I don't think that this is going to be the grimmest year for NA because while I feel like other regions might be better, it only feels like LCK is sending the teams where like I just watched Genji play League of Legends right now and it's like, well, that's not fair.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way about any other team. Whereas in the past, I have definitely felt that way about multiple teams coming from those regions. I think that Fearless definitely helps. But yeah, I don't think it's like as grim as you're painting it out to be. Even if, like for me, the hardest part is I think one of the big reasons why we were successful last year is because we had more games played throughout the year as a region. And then I actually felt like we had edge with lane swaps. Like I like the way that TL and FlyQuest were playing lane swaps by playing all 3 lanes from level 1. I felt like that was the way to play it. And when the other teams were not doing that, I actually feel like we had edge from like minute 1 of the game. That's just not the case anymore too. So I feel like that's why I'd be more grim. But also I see the teams globally, and I just don't think that they're as strong either. So I'm not like nearly as Debbie Downer as you know. I feel like a lot can still happen in the event, but Genji is probably gonna win it in the current form. So
Yeah.
there's that too.
Someone says LEC is stronger right now. I think G2 is stronger. I think the other teams are not. Now, MKoi, I keep saying Mad Koi, but I have to keep reminding myself it's Movistar. They're just so unpredictable in almost every level. I never know what I'm gonna get from them, and I'm sure the European fans are probably thinking this, but like,
yeah,
times 10. Mirwin is just like, I swear, the most coin flip player. It's hard to really read, and then the same could be said with JoJo and like Supa's playing really well right now, but I don't know what the hell that's gonna mean going in international. So right now, I have no trust in this team, but yeah, K Corp probably maybe is better, but I've always said that Yike is a bit of a choker at internationals. He choked versus us. He did it again versus NRG, and then into Team Liquid. So I don't know, maybe he does it again, but he performed better as the tournament went on. So maybe that's not true. But if it's just G2, yeah, G2 is probably gonna kill us.
Cool. Well, on that note, Narfidy, yeah, I don't know if you have any rebuttals. I know you've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, but anything you wanted to add before I give you your shout-outs?
Not really. Like I'll always be. I'm not making a doomer take because like out of like an uneducated opinion. Like I watch the league. I watch this league. I watch a couple leagues. I just think, and maybe to Cubby's point, it's like it's fearless, and like I'm just not that good at analyzing how teams play in a fearless world yet. But it's just I just been kind of down on the the LTA the LTA product this split especially. But you know, if we can go up,
Well, the product is different than the
no,
competitors, right?
I know, but like
You mean product
but
as
like
in gameplay,
things,
right?
yeah, like
Yeah.
gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Like it just I don't think we're gonna be sending. We might not send our worst team ever to MSI because that's, like I said, a very, very, very low bar. But we're definitely not going to be sending our best this year, unless it's like FlyQuest goes and is just chugging at all cylinders like they were at Worlds last year.
Yeah, I think the level of play in Europe is a little bit higher, but some like anytime I watch, and I'm just gonna start listing names like Rogue, SK, BDS, Vitality. Like
Oh, these are
Heretics is a weird
FlyQuest.
one because
Yeah.
Heretics like got better a little bit as a team later on in the end. So like I want to rake my eyes if they're playing against each other. So I think they do have bad quality teams in their league, but they still have 5 teams that I believe can win a game. Like Giant X could have a great game. And then we already mentioned the other ones, and we haven't mentioned Fnatic at all. Actually, it's my bad not for mentioning Fnatic. So they just do have a better pool of teams, which usually I think we have. So now my opinion has changed a little bit from like the last 2 years, where I feel like now they have 5 better teams than, you know. But no, I think I know why you're a doomer. I can understand it. But I think FlyQuest is good enough.
I think that FlyQuest can go up against any of the EU teams too. Like I don't think that going up against G2, it's like, oh, we're doomed from off the bat, right? I think they can beat anyone from EU if that's where like the caller's barometer is.
And
C9
also,
we haven't seen, but yeah.
if C9 upsets, to your point, if C9 just upsets, to your point, and they make it, they're still a really good team to watch. Like I think that they can easily win games as well. They have great firepower, so
yeah.
So we'll see. You pretty much already said it anyways. I don't think it's going to be the worst MSI performance.
Well, we'll see how things goes. Narfidy, anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, long time listener, first time caller. So shout out Travis. First of all, shout out the sponsors. Shout out Shorter Ace, my NA goat. And then shout out my wife and dog, my best friends.
Awesome. That's very sweet. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Those are amazing shout outs.
Let's see. We did have, it's not a call, but I saw in chat a fan of Raz's named Apollo was asking if he had any good, Raz, do you have any good dig stories?
I think those stories can't be shared.
Wait, how long ago? It's like 10 years ago, right? 8 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I feel like you could start, people can start to share these stories. That's been long enough.
No. I think you should share them, says Apollo. I will not share them. There are some funny stories. I cannot share them.
Great. Well, looking forward to the day in which you can. I do think we are winding down, though. It's a bit of a shorter episode this week, but just, things are still kicking off here for all of us as we head into playoffs. So we're going to wind down a little early. But, Cubby, what are you up to this week? What's going on? I know you have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, fly out to Raleigh, North Carolina tomorrow. So I'll be there for a CLOL championship. And then also NC State, they're going to accommodate me doing NACL from out there too. So that'll be fun. Get to show off the venue. So yeah, excited to see the collegiate teams. We got Maryville versus Ole Miss. And yeah, should be a fun week of traveling. So I'll be back for Monday and definitely looking forward to catching up with the games as we're going to be wrapped up early on Saturday. It starts at 9:30 a.m. EST, Travis. That's
a rough one.
The first game starts then.
Yeah. So you're going to be asleep on the show. That's what I'm hearing.
No, we have the week to make sure that we're wide awake for that show.
It's the most dig story ever.
Apollo's still trolling Raz in the chat.
He is. Let me just say, one day the statute of limitations will lift. It will not come from me. If anything, Apollo should share is my position.
Raz, what do you got for us? What do you want to shout out here at the end?
Shout out to, of course, the show. You guys vibing, chugging along. I always love watching it if I have the time to. Don't know why, for some reason, you guys care about holidays. So we're moving it to a Tuesday instead. We can move days if it's a national holiday, but if it has anything to do with Martin Luther King, then suddenly we got to work those days. So, but shout out to you, Travis.
I was wondering where you were going with that one, Raz.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you being here. For everyone else, thanks for watching. We have playoffs continuing this weekend. We have some interesting matches. I mean, MissTimed believes that we're going to have the most fun match of the whole playoffs this weekend in the Shopify 100 Thieves match. So tune into that. For me, we will do the show again next Monday, and that will be fun. And then, yeah, it's just like June is going to be crazy for me, and then we'll be straight into MSI. So it's
Yeah.
gonna get wild. So thanks
Oh,
everybody
one
for
shout out. Shout out to you guys with some incredibly creative names in the chat. When I see creative names like Bernie's Left Nut, it's just peak. It actually just uplifts my entire night.
When are you playing Expedition 33, and are you going to stream it?
I will stream it, but I'm bad with streaming MMOs that take out like 100 hours long.
It's not an MMO, and it takes like 50 hours.
Okay, I can stream that.
It's like a Persona style game.
I take like 100 hours on Persona, sadly.
Okay.
Well, it's
Well,
going to take some time, and I will announce it if I do it.
He's in it for the plot, you know.
Cubby, you're not. Wait, are you playing Expedition 33? Have we talked about it?
No, I'm waiting for off season potentially.
Okay, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, I have so many
Yeah.
friends who I've gotten into playing it. So
Yeah,
but
we're trying not to play more games, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I get it a lot. I've started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again, and I'm hoping I can stick with it. But it is rough to get into that game after playing. There's like in the beginning of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, there's like a moment where you just have to slowly move a vacuum around to suck up some like Mako energy, and it just like takes forever. And I'm just like, God, this is just something they did bit in Expedition 33 because it's like unfun. But
this
of
is
course
the problem
it's
with every Final Fantasy game. I love Final Fantasy games, but they need you to have the least amount of fun possible during their tutorial phase.
Yeah.
Those first 5 hours, they want you to want to leave the game very quickly.
I'm trying to, because the Final Fantasy VII set is coming out, for which I'm an ambassador for Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy. I've been really getting back into Final Fantasy, like the worlds and stuff. The other day I watched like an hour-long video on the full story of Final Fantasy X because it's probably been like 25 years since I've played it. Nice. But yeah, it's a tough one to go from Expedition 33, which I think just has really refined and evolved the formula for like a turn-based game, to some of these other ones that just feel like they're kind of filled with, I don't know. The 7 Rebirth, I'm not looking forward to the open world stuff, because when I tried it on the PlayStation, I was just like, some of these like little mini quests or side quests are just like so uninteresting. Either way, thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next week. This has been a fun one. Stay tuned for playoffs. It's going to be really great, and we'll catch you all next time.